Hello and good afternoon to all our attendees for this Continuing the Journey webinar as a follow-up from our seminar at the Lowry Theatre in Manchester, Salford Keys, on social care in 2016. Our vision at CareArm Life is to change the way the industry works over the next decade. As we're all well aware, there's a lot of negative perception in the general public. 8 out of 10 won't use one of our facilities for one of their loved ones, whereas we feel there's a desperate need to work on this over the next 10 years to change it to completely round, so 8 out of 10 would prefer to use a care home for one of their loved ones. Now this is a very, very large task we set out on, so we need your assistance with this through collaboration, networking, sharing best practices, just simply working together. So that's the purpose of these webinars, and thank you very much for joining. It's a journey we've embarked on, a journey of desperate need in the UK, but we're very passionate and positive about it. We're wanting to add value at CareArm Life rather than just being a supplier of goods, whether it be housekeeping, medical, furniture or equipment. So we'd rather add value, and that's what the purpose of the seminar that we ran last month and this webinar webinars that you just started on today are all about, adding value rather than being a supplier. I'd just like to take a quick poll now, if that's all right, as to whether you are actually a customer of CareArm Life. So you'll see it pop up on the screen, and it'll ask you, there'll be positions where you can click your answer. Just want to, out of interest, because it's not just all about sales. This is nothing about sales, this is adding value. I want to know who is and who isn't a CareArm Life customer, please. Just select either yes or no, and then we'll close it down. Thank you. We'll just wait for a few seconds. Okay, I think those answers are coming in well. Just one or two more to come in. Just give it a few more seconds. We're nearly there. Thank you for your response. Okay, well, we better move on. I just wanted to introduce you to who I am. I'm Eddie Fishwick, Managing Director of CareArm Life. The experience I've actually had in looking after my grandfather led me to be passionate about changing this sector. He's a very nice gentleman, very good to look after. But that's why we're here today, is because we see a desperate need with you all to improve the care home facilities in the UK. Our core purpose is to honour our loved ones with dignity that they deserve. It's very critical that all the ones are cared for with dignity. I want to just go over with you a little bit then about the Lowry seminar last month, Social Care 2016. Just got one or two pictures to show you. It's quite an iconic place. This is the reception of the Lowry Theatre. Very, very colourful, very exciting, and drew a lot of attendees to the seminar. If you just move on, Joel, please, there's a lot of networking opportunities in the breaks and the lunches where a lot of key influences and care home owners, managers in the sector were able to share their experiences and learn from each other. And then the actual seminar area itself was quite iconic and quite impressive. This we felt was one of the speakers, Jonathan Cunningham from Storm, actually said it's the first event like this he's been to in the sector. So this is all about adding value stratospherically rather than being a supplier of goods. So I'd just like to take another poll now, just very quickly, as to who on these webinars actually attended that seminar. So if you could just pop that up for us, Joel, please. Just click either yes or register but didn't make it, or no, please. Just very helpful just to get an idea of who's actually on this call today. Good, thank you. The responses are coming in well. Good, thank you for that. Thank you very much indeed. Well, I just want to pass you on now to Joel Fishwick, Head of Sales of Care Home Life. Welcome in, Joel.
Thank you. I just want to introduce myself. So I'm Joel Fishwick. I'm the Head of Sales here at Care Home Life, and I just want to go over with you some of the feedback from the seminar. We've had some excellent feedback so far. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you to all those on the webinar who were at the seminar and have given us feedback. It's very useful and critical to us to continue to improve. Now, these key points that we've pulled out of the feedback we've received are the points that we want to build on and take forward. There's really 4 main points. The first being to hear positive things about care. There's many negatives that get around on the media about care, but one of the things that was different about this seminar was the fact that there's a lot of positives that can be drawn out about care, and we want to build on that and keep those positives going out. Second one was that there were relevant subjects that can be put into practice, and we, in this webinar program, will be focusing on these relevant ideas that each and every care home owner or manager can use to improve your homes. And the third point was the fact that there were solutions to the issues and challenges that are facing many care homes currently. And then the last point, the fact that we can learn from sharing experiences, and that's something that we fully believe in at Care Home Life, that we never lose out by sharing experiences that we have in things that have worked, and that's the reason why we ran this seminar and we're doing this webinar program up to the end of the year. So just moving on to give a brief overview of the speakers that we had at the seminar for the benefit of those who didn't attend. We had Philip Daya, who is a culture change specialist from NXO, spoke to us about the power of changing your mindset when faced with situations that won't change. Changing your mindset about the situation can unleash creativity, discovery of new approaches to the situation that can make a real difference. And the second point there being habits, so our habits influence our actions, and it's critical to change our everyday habits and the language that we use if we want to improve our results. Then we had a speech from Louise Mattinson, who's a director of Hillcroft Nursing Home Group, and she shared with us the success that they've seen by shifting their leadership style from a hierarchy to more of a collaborative management team, which has led to a huge improvement in staff engagement, which is really the most critical thing in becoming an outstanding home. We then had a speech from John Kennedy, who wrote an inquiry into care homes and has done a lot of studies around outstanding organisations, and his main point was that outstanding organisations have 3 things. They have clear values, they know where they're going, they have adequate resources, so it's not possible to get to outstanding without providing a safe and caring environment and having the right staff in place. This can require a certain percentage of private residents. And then the third point being valued and supported managers and staff. Jonathan Cunningham from Storm spoke about becoming truly outstanding, and the meaning of outstanding is that you're not the same as everyone else. There is a need to be different and to prove why, and your home's most important asset was an interesting point because that isn't the building or the residents, it's the staff. Jon Hitaka gave a very interesting speech with a bit of magic thrown in all around achievement thinking. Back to the mindset point I spoke about, and we must have a mindset of success. If we're going to get through, anything is possible if we believe in it. And then rounded off by Pete Fernando from the Hive Marketing, and he spoke about the speed of communications, some scary facts around video and mobile usage on the internet. It's important that care homes get onto this. Just make a start somewhere, start to engage and connect digitally with your community and families online using tools such as LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. We will be going further into the detail of all of these points on future webinars, so stay tuned in and follow us on this exciting journey. Thank you. I'll pass back to Eddie now.
Thank you very much, Joel. Well, it certainly give us a good overview there, the exciting seminar, and all attendees should be very thrilled with the idea that each of these webinars focuses on one of these topics going forward. So I just want to speak to you about upcoming updates on other events that are actually going on in the sector, because it's quite good to be able to communicate specific things to you that are positive. There's a Storm conference in Southport next week on the 20th. It's another inspirational event that Care of Life are having to do with many other influencers in the sector to bring in some positivity and learned processes and information from influencers. Also, there's an event at the House of Lords on the 25th of October, which is organised by National Care Association, Nadra Ahmed, and we're working very close with National Care Association as Care on Life. We'll be lobbying with parliamentarians about the fragility of the social care sector, and also be getting other representatives from the sector in, so the MPs and influencers can learn firsthand what is going on, both bad but also the good. They need to understand the whole picture, and this is an added value effort, and it just proves and shows the passion of many in this sector, which we're very thrilled and honoured to be working with to change the way this industry works over the next decade. I'd like to move on now just to speak to you. What I want you to mainly take away from this webinar is what NPS is all about, Net Promoter Score. We're very passionate about it at Care on Life, and would like to share this process with you because CQC say that, on the next slide please Joel, thank you. Feedback being the breakfast of champions, CQC say that service providers also routinely gather and use information from people who use services, carers and other representatives of the public, and here they say they will make use of this information, including surveys of people who use the services, visitors and staff. What we thought it would be useful to do is to try and encourage more homes to actually use this system. It's a globally recognized system. It was set on or designed by a gentleman called Fred Reichheld. On screen, the ultimate question it's built around. The ultimate question basically being the most easiest and question to actually ask that forces out of somebody's response how they rate you in the most simplistic terms. So the question, I'd just like to ask you at the moment, if you could pop up another poll, please, Joel, is have you got this system already or something similar? So if you just pop up the third poll, please, Joel. So you can see on the screen now, have you got something like NPS that actually produces a score? A lot of people have general questionnaires for feedback, but I'd like you just to tick either yes, I have got NPS, yes, but I believe it would work better, or no, please. Just quickly click in the box that is your answer, please. Thank you. Thank you. They're coming in quite fast and furious. We'll just close it down, Joel, when they're in, please. Thank you. So moving on, this system that Fred Reichheld actually designed is built around, as I said before, what he calls the ultimate question, which is just simply, how likely are you to recommend this nursing home as a place to work to one of your close friends or relatives? It's a very, very simple question to ask, but quite meaningful, and it's a simple score, 0 to 10, 0 being highly unlikely and 10 being extremely likely to recommend. And what that does is it produces a very easy way of finding out exactly where you stand in relation to a number. The meaning then is that you can then focus on what you need to improve to get your number up. It gives you a minimum amount of feedback questions. You'll all be well aware that of questionnaires you're asked to fill in from time to time, where you might have 15, 20, 30 questions to ask, and you wonder what on earth happens to these questions when you submit them, because you don't generally get feedback on them. So it's easier to manage. It's a lot faster. They only ask you 2 questions besides the scoring question. So they'll ask you, what is the main reason for your score? If there was one thing we could do to improve, what would it be? So that's the way to find out how satisfied your actual staff are, which quite honestly, if we can get our staffing right, then it quite simply finds out where we are performing today, really what our culture is and what our brand is within our own organisation. Because if our staff aren't satisfied and we can't manage to score up, then there's not a lot of point in starting on residents and relatives. So this is the way it works, 0 to 10, and we'll be sending you a Word document for you to be able to put your own home's name in and use yourself. So these will be sent to you as a follow-up email following this webinar, so you can use these to personalize them yourself. And what it actually does is the 0 to 6s are what they call detractors. So they're persons that do not promote your company or nursing home to anybody else, would only say negative things about you. 7 to 8s, although it's a high score, are only called passives. They are persons that would move to a different employer if they were offered a job, not necessarily for better money either. So they're like fickle staff that would jump either way if you're given an opportunity. Only can you ever be satisfied when your staff are 9 and 10s, because they're promoters and they will always promote your company at all opportunities, and that's what you need to do to build an excellent culture, an excellent brand as a care home organisation if you are going to exist in this current market that we're actually in. And the way it works then is to get your NPS score, you remove the passive, but the percentage of persons that answered 9 to 10 are promoters, so percentage of the total, and the percentage of detractors taken off that equals your score. So I just want to give you a live example here. Out the seminar that we actually ran the other week, although not everybody gave us responses, you can still generally go by the total responses you get. So total responses were 45, of which 36 were promoters, so that's 80% of 45. Passes were 8, so we discard them, and we had 1 detractor. So 80 minus 2 equals 78, and that is the actual score of our Care on Life seminar last month. I just want to now explain to you that average companies, Fred Reichel says that average companies score generally between 5 to 10, so they're like companies that might, the sales might go down, or you might lose residents, or you might stay static, but most efficient growth, or rather improvement culture companies, or care homes that are always full because they're in high demand, would generally get the score up to and between 50 to 80. So handling the actual feedback is very, very critical here. We need to make sure that we record it properly, we don't let it go to waste, and then we work on it accordingly. So we prioritize what's the most important feedback that we've got, and then we must feed back to staff what's being done. So you might have 1, 2 or 3 specific things you know you can work on straight away, and you actually communicate this is what you're doing, and then you move through the feedback over the period of time, say between every quarter that you might measure the actual feedback, to try and work on all the negative points, things you could do to improve, and then obviously you can celebrate the good things they said about you too. And I'd just like to share with you my leadership experience when I was measured as a leader. I've shared this with 1 or 2 of you before, but I'll just share it again. When I first took an NPS from my own staff, how they rated me as a leader, I scored minus 48, which was a terrible shock. But over a period of 6 months, focusing on making sure I don't operate with a hidden agenda and simply ensuring it was known that I always tell the truth, I lifted my score over 6 months to 84. I think you had a similar experience, did you, Joel, when you did the same course? Can you tell us about it, please?
Yes, I did. It was very eye-opening to receive feedback. My initial score was 9, and by focusing on some quite specific points of improvement, I managed to raise that over a period of 6 months to 50, which was very encouraging. But then I found that there was more specific feedback points to work on in the second survey. So it is a continuous process, I suppose, is what we learn from it.
Good, that's very helpful. I do believe from your first feedback, one of the most popular feedback that you got from the staff was just to simply listen more. Was that right?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, it's not a negative thing to get feedback that's tough, but it is a breakfast of champions. And just in summary, then, what we need to do then is make sure we're actually recording it, prioritising it, and feeding it back. And of course, you can, once you've worked on your staff, to lift them up to a good score. Then obviously you can use it on relatives and other departments at a later date. There's no point in trying to work on external feedback until the internal is correct. So I'd like now just to pass on over to you, Joel, for the next section of this webinar. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're just saying about spreading the word. The most important points being that collaboration and networking, sharing best practice. It's important if we're going to change the way this industry works, everybody works together. So we'd like you to have a think about who else you know that you could pass on the details of this webinar program. We will be sending out an email following this webinar, so we'd really appreciate it if you could forward that on. And just to give you an insight into what's coming up in the next 5 webinars that take us through to the end of the year, we've got Outstanding Care, which covers some specific points around achieving outstanding, culture change, and then your brand, your team, and then achieving more, and then communicating digitally. So stay tuned in. This is going to be a very exciting program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Yeah, just to round off then, it's Eddie speaking. I want to just mention to you all, to those of you especially that obviously weren't at the seminar, but we did play a video by Barack Obama on the principle of one positive voice being able to change a room, being able to change a town, being able to change a state, being able to change a country, being able to change a world. And this is quite critical on this journey that we've all embarked on. I'd like to encourage you to stick with us and work together because you and me, if we operate rightly and improve ourselves in the way we manage, will improve our staff, which in turn will improve the residents, which in turn will communicate positive messages to the family and friends, which realistically is the whole of the population in the UK. We're going to send you this video as in a viewing format, so you can use it to play to yourselves, to your own staff, and maybe use a bit of an inspiration to actually get this point over, that we can really make a difference. And also the way we speak, whether we're positive or whether we're negative, makes such a difference to the sector and in our own nursing homes. To lift the culture, if everyone's going to be outstanding, this is the way it will actually work out. So I just want to just quickly round off with this point that 8 out of 10 won't use our nursing homes. We want to change that to 8 out of 10 will. So let's continue on the journey to change the way the industry works. I look forward to a fortnight's time, Thursday at 2 o'clock for episode 2, which is all about what outstanding care actually is. And remember that this webinar is recorded, and you can, when you receive the recording link, you can circulate it to any of the staff that you wish, and they can view it as many times as they like. And you can send it to your friends in other nursing homes and say, look, you need to be joining this. So get the word out there, spread it around, and if we work together, we'll change this over the next decade. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you.